Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Courtney. We're really excited to be here tonight. So I'm just going to self-describe. I'm a white woman with shoulder-length red hair, and I'm sitting in an office with some books in the background. I'd like to introduce, though, our poet this evening that we'll be speaking with. Her name is E Wallace, and she's a poet and essayist from Jersey City and an English professor at NJCU. She has survived ovarian cancer. She lives with MS and is a COVID long hauler who's been writing about her illness since she and her daughter fell ill nearly a year ago. She's written for HuffPost, USA Today, and a variety of poetry journals. So now we're going to have Anne read one of her poems for us.
Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. I will do a quick self-description as well. I am a white woman with short brown hair and red glasses, and I'm wearing a paprika colored sweater. So let me read this. I'd like to read a poem for you. We have a screenshot of it. So in our slides, if we go, there we go. This is called For the House Finches. It was published this winter in Coffin Bell Journal. And I wrote it, as it says on the screen, on April 1st last year. So For the House Finches. I wonder if the House Finches know that they own the yard this year. The cheery red-headed finches, the cardinals, sparrows, mourning doves, and the large lone pigeon who began visiting last week as I fell ill to peck beneath the feeder. All of them. They can have the yard this year, I think, as I heave myself off the couch, slip my feet into my empty red boots, pull a shawl around my shoulders, and stumble outside to offer them some food.
Thank you for sharing that, Anne.
Sure.
So a couple of questions for you. Tell us a little bit about this poem and what inspired you to write it.
Sure. So I wrote this one on April 1st last year. I fell sick with COVID. I started having symptoms around March 17th. My daughter had already been sick, though she was mostly recovered by then, by April 1st. But I decided in April to write a poem a day. I was very sick at this point in my illness. And this first poem from April 1st, it was sort of a poem of resignation that so if you remember the beginning of the pandemic, if you were not sick and you had any kind of privilege in your life, you might have been making bread, raising chickens, Marie Kondoing your home, and feeding your birds, right? This is what all my friends were doing, ones who had the kind of capacity to do that, and homeschooling your children, or, helping them navigate remote learning, all of that. But so I was watching in my living room behind me, I was looking out my window and seeing my birds out there, my birds, I don't own them, but I have a bird feeder, and I could barely walk. And I just realized, like, this was a period of stripping away of everything. The birds were like my last little pleasure I had of watching them, and I just couldn't go out to feed them. So this last day on April 1st, I pulled myself together and I fed them, and it was sort of like my farewell feeding for the, I don't mean that in that dramatic sense so much, but it was they're on their own, they can have it. I'm here, and I just am focusing on getting better. I'm focusing on where I am right now, which is contained on the space of my couch, basically. So that's where that one came from.
Well, so you write in a number of genres. What does poetry specifically offer you that other forms of writing do not?
Well, yeah, I do write in a lot of genres. In fact, I'm going to put in a little plug here. I have a piece coming out in HuffPost on Tuesday, Huffington Post on Tuesday, about living for a year with COVID. I am a long hauler. I'm still sick. So I write for a public audience in pieces like that. So take a look for it. And that's got a very specific rhetorical purpose. I'm trying to raise awareness about COVID. Back in the spring, it was about COVID. When my daughter fell ill, it was about the fact that kids get sick, et cetera. I had really very clear reasons for writing. And now it's about the neglect that long haulers have had, like the sense of being abandoned in terms of our medical care and all those things. But poetry is very different for me. I write that it's much more immediate. I don't have a political purpose. Well, sometimes I do. I do write political poems, but these don't have the same kind of rhetorical purpose, but they're immediate, they're visceral, but they also help me step back and process what I'm going through. A friend recently told me that I write about illness. I told her that the reason I did my scholarship in graduate school on illness, she'd asked me, how do I write about like having lived through cancer and such? And I said, well, I try to find a way to make it interesting. I guess that's what I said years ago to her. And that still holds true though. If I can step back, I can think about what's sort of interesting even when I'm in the moment of it. And but the final reason I write about that I turn to poetry in moments of sickness and of sort of distress or trauma is that I want to make a record of it. I mean, especially with COVID, that was absolutely true. I thought, I'm one of the first people in this country, I mean, in our county and our city to be sick. And this is my mechanism. So not too many people write through their illnesses. We have a lot of memoirs about illness, but when you're sick, usually, most people their go-to thing is I got to get better. So I thought, I do have an opportunity here to try to record what I'm going through, and I will be grateful for it myself if no one else is later. And I am glad I wrote these pieces. It's a record for me.
I love what you said about it being a record, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to taking your poems to another level. Speranza has a very exciting opportunity to bring some of Anne's poems to the stage in a production. So we will be adding all of the elements, lights, sound, actors, costumes, and of course an audience. So we look forward to hopefully you will be joining us for that upcoming production. And I'd love for you just to share a little bit of information about your book, though.
Sure. So you can see it on the screen. My book, this is obviously not about COVID. I'm writing, that'll be coming up whenever I get to it, but some kind of publication. But my book, Counting by Sevens, if you are interested in it, you can reach out to me by email or on my website. You can purchase it for $15 and I will throw in the shipping for free. You can also follow me on Twitter. My Twitter address handle is there. I'll also put it in the chat for people. I'll put that info there.
And a little bit about Speranza. Speranza is a nonprofit women's theater company. We're located right in Jersey City, and Speranza means hope in Italian, and that's really what drives our work. We produce family-friendly historical plays, contemporary plays like this poetry play that we have coming up, and also have educational programming. Really exciting thing for us. One of our historical plays, Votes for Women, is now available for rental on Vimeo. We have a film adaptation of that. It is family friendly, and it was filmed on location at Alice Paul's girlhood home right here in New Jersey. After that, we've got our Mother's Day community cookbook. We are hoping to hear from you. We are featuring recipes from the community, so please send us an email with your recipes and a short story about how that recipe connects to you. I will put that information in the chat, and thank you so much for joining us on JC Fridays, and thanks to Art House.